I'm going to tell a story this time about my great-grandfather's brother. My great-grandfather was Rab-Shmunider Big Feivelson, the Plungianer. He was a rabbi in a few other cities. But towards the end of his life, he was a rabbi in Plungianer. He's buried in East Berlin. It used to be East Berlin. He came to Germany because he had diabetes. They cut off his foot, and he died as a result of the operation. And he's buried over there. I was never there, but my mother and my grandmother, my step-grandmother, were there on the way to America. They stopped off in Berlin. So his brother, one of his brothers was called Rabbi Bandit. He was a Shukyaner Rav. He also was a Rav in a few different towns. Like almost all the brothers, I think, were Rabbanim in Beis Hagolah. Beis Hagolah was like a testing ground, like a beginning stella, beginning position for a Rav. And then they went on to bigger and better things, and he eventually was a Shukyaner Rav. And they say he gave smicha, his big masmich, and the brachim from tells they would come to him for smicha. It's like this, the Alhala in tells didn't want the brachim to study Yerdea. They wanted the brachim to learn Gemara, Yevamos, Kiddushin, not Yerdea. But the brachim wanted to get smicha. It's a good thing to have before you get married. So they would study in secret Yerdea, and then they would come to Rabbi Yisrael Bandit for smicha. And once he asked the rabbinical candidate from Tels, he says, "Tell me the Aseret Shadibris." A Rav has to also know the simplest things. So, anyways, he wrote many books in Jerush. Of all the brothers, he was the big darshan. And his nephew, Rabbi Yeshua Abba, his nephew was the son of his sister Basha. He would publish his uncle's works. Anyways, this story goes back I don't know, 10, 20 years ago. They went to Lita, Rabbanim from America and from Israel went to Lita, to see what they could find over there, leftovers, Shirayim. And Shach said, whatever you find, you should pay good money for. You should be willing to pay good money if you find something. So when they were in Lita, some guy came over to them and showed them the manuscript. Most likely it wasn't in the best condition. And they didn't know what it was bichlal, but since the Rav Shach had said, so they bought it. And they brought it back to Eretz Yisrael, and there they gave it to experts who recognized the handwriting and the signon of how it was written, that this was a work of Rabbi Yisrael Bandit called Bnei Yisrael, and part of it had been published, but this part had not been published. The kids, what they did is they took the published part and they took the unpublished part and they put them together and they published it. So this is like a big miracle that that this manuscript was in the hands of a goy for 60 years. It was lucky he held on to the manuscript hoping the Jews are going to come back and he's going to sell it to them. But still, it's a pella that he held on to it for 60 years. And something that had not been printed, because he died before the Holocaust, a few years, like Tafresh Tzadakeh, he died. And his almana and children were in Shukyan, and they were taken from there to their deaths. But after they left, so some of the goy, maybe the Hamishi goy, the Goyish Shabbos went in there, and he knew that the manuscripts were worth money to the Jews. So he took the manuscripts. In any case, so they were finally printed. So this is like something of a miracle.